Chapter 21 The Power of Fire Bullets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Little guy, compared to the Warcraft in the Warcraft Mountains, humans are sometimes more terrifying. Yao Lao's voice sounded in Xiao Yan's heart. Xiao Yan smiled lightly. It's really scary to kill so many people. Huh? Yao Lao was really surprised. After Xiao Yan killed the red flame demon tiger, he didn't have much fighting spirit left. There are more than 30 people in this mercenary team. Even if Xiao Yan's strength is much stronger than the level shown, he cannot be the opponent of so many people. Xiao Yan turned around calmly and looked at the people of the Wolf-Head mercenary group, while explaining to Yao Lao in his heart, the injuries on the second-level monster, the red flame demon tiger, were obviously caused by humans, and it seemed that the injury lasted only a short time. Although I am not as powerful as your soul, do you think I can't guess that I will encounter the mercenaries who are chasing the red flame demon tiger? When I started, I used the Baji Beng instead of the Baji soaring cannon, which reduced the number of times I needed to practice the Baji soaring cannon. Not only did he judge that the red flame demonic tiger would be killed in one blow, but he also wanted to save the consumption of fighting energy to deal with the mercenaries he might encounter. Yao Lao did not expect that although Xiao Yan was young, he was very thoughtful. Even if you have some fighting spirit left, how can you deal with so many people on the other side? Yao Lao asked the key question. Just wait and see. Xiao Yan smiled faintly. Seeing Xiao Yan's slow look, Hemon shouted angrily, don't even think about playing tricks. I picked these medicinal materials by luck along the way. Can I keep some? Xiao Yan said with a wry smile. The mercenary with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks standing next to Hemon took out the long knife in his hand and threatened, boy, do you want to die? No, no, no. Xiao Yan quickly spread his hands, that's it for you. You must keep your word and let me leave. Hurry up and bring it. Hemon urged impatiently, sneering in his heart. He only said to keep the bag, but did not tell him to leave. Catch it. Xiao Yan took off the bag from his waist and threw it away. Many mercenaries blinked. They didn't see anything thrown at them. Is this kid crazy? He dared to play tricks on them. With his extraordinary eyesight honed over many years of climbing in the Warcraft Mountains, Hemon vaguely saw a bit of red light coming quickly. The sharp nerves that had been lingering at the edge of the knife all year round made the skin on his body suddenly tighten, and a flash of warning flashed through his heart like lightning. Hemon suddenly took a step back, grabbing two mercenary brothers and blocking them in front of him. At the same time, the fighting cyclone in the body was running wildly, and the originally bronze skin became a little pale at a speed visible to the naked eye. With a pop, the sharp-mouthed monkey-cheeked mercenary who was used as a human shield felt as if his abdomen had been pierced, and a mouthful of blood spat out. You. He never dreamed that he would die in the hands of a young man, and the key point was that his death was a bit unclear. What Xiao Yan couldn't throw was not the bag, but the fire bomb he refined with the first-order fire attribute magic core. The mercenaries suddenly seemed as if they were dreaming. This weak-looking little lamb actually killed one of their brothers in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the violent energy of the fire bomb was released and exploded. The violent energy of the fire bomb is like a flame from hell, instantly devouring everything around it. The horrific explosion was deafening and the flames shot into the sky. The sharp-mouthed monkey-cheeked mercenary was the first to bear the brunt. In an instant, his flesh and blood flew everywhere. The other mercenaries who were close to the fire bomb were unprepared for it and were directly blown away. But more mercenaries were knocked to the ground by the strong air wave. The high temperature burned their skin to black, their hair burned, and the armor on their bodies became too hot. For a moment, the air was filled with the smoke and dust after the explosion of the fire bomb and the groans of the injured mercenaries, and the scene was chaotic. Some people were so burned that they couldn't move, and some people tried to stand up but couldn't do it because of their injuries. The mercenaries standing outside who were not injured quickly retreated and looked at Xiao Yan with great vigilance. The little lamb they once despised has now become the sole source of this disaster. Yao Lao suddenly realized at this time, no wonder you are so confident, you actually have such a thing. I didn't expect you to be able to directly use the magic core. By the way, you liked tinkering with these weird things when you were a child. Yao Lao couldn't help but think of those little dancing iron men. I thought it was quite funny at the time, but who knew that many years later, the manufacturing of that thing would eventually evolve into such a terrifying use. Compared to Yao Lao's excitement, Xiao Yan didn't have much smile on his face, and only about half of them were killed in the explosion. This is going to be difficult. He casually threw aside the bloody mercenary brother who was bombed. Even though Hemon was hiding behind him, his face was burned by the fire that filled the surrounding area. Good boy, I actually made a mistake. Hemon exhaled slowly, his face no longer smiling, but extremely solemn, glancing at the dozen or so mercenaries who were still intact outside. Hemon shouted, "Come on, kill this kid and avenge your brothers." The mercenaries are not stupid. If they were hit by the explosion, they might not be able to escape now if they were alive just now. Hemon angrily kicked the nearest mercenary. "What are you afraid of? If he still had that thing, he would have used it long ago. The actual situation is that thing, he only has one. For this kid to have such a treasure, he must have received the inheritance from some powerful person. Maybe he has a Xian class skill. Whoever kills him, I will let him be the first to practice." Hemon released a mercenary an irresistible temptation. The mercenaries hesitated for a while, and finally looked at Xiao Yan with shining eyes. Xian class level skills, if they have this kind of skills, they might be able to break through and become a strong fighting master in their lifetime. Yao Lao urged, "Come on, if you fight with all your strength, these mercenaries are no match for you. Run away." What shocked the Yao Lao and the mercenaries was that Xiao Yan, who just now looked like he was about to go on a killing spree, directly rubbed oil on the soles of his feet, turned around and fled into the dense forest with all his strength. While leaping in the forest, Xiao Yan said to Yao Lao, "The movement caused by the fire bullets is not small. Who knows if there are any companions of these mercenaries or powerful monsters nearby? Even if I kill them, my little life will be lost." Very few died. Yes, you have mastered one of the secrets of survival in the Warcraft Mountains. Always leave some strength to deal with unknown dangers. Yao Lao said appreciatively. Xiao Yan smiled faintly. "These mercenaries now think that I have mystical level skills. Many treasures will fall into my hands sooner or later. There is no need to worry." Chapter 22 Seal of Fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There are many woods and complex terrain in the Warcraft Mountains. Xiao Yan fled with all his strength, but within a moment, all the mercenaries of the Wolf-Head mercenary group could not even be seen. However, they were extremely familiar with the periphery of the Warcraft mountain range and roughly determined the range within which Xiao Yan could escape, and did not give up. As night fell, Xiao Yan found a hidden cave, ate something casually, and started practicing cross-legged. Looking inside at the nebula-like cyclone of Dou Qi, Xiao Yan only had time to quietly comprehend in order to solve the problem of his low Dou Qi. On this issue, Xiao Yan's overall thinking is very clear. Since Huang's low-level skills can only allow the Dou Qi cyclone to hold a very small amount of Dou Qi, then just find another place to store Dou Qi. To put it simply, it is like opening up a second cyclone of fighting. The fighting spirit is twice as much as that of ordinary people, and it can consume the opponent to death. Immediately afterwards, Xiao Yan thought of the clan crest of Dou Qi Continent. The clan pattern is much more powerful than the simple cyclone of the second fight. It can make the opponent's strength skyrocket, and directly complete the counterattack of the weak defeating the strong. Once the two were combined, Xiao Yan determined the plan. The secret method he created was just a simple cyclone-like effect of the second fight at the beginning, increasing the fighting energy he could use. In the middle stage, it could also be similar to the clan pattern, improving his strength. In the later stage, the Shang could truly rival the clan pattern and surpass it. Clan pattern. What the ancient clan pattern inspires is the power of blood in the people of the ancient family. It is an exaggeration to say that his blood is sporadic, therefore, there are many problems that need to be solved. However, Xiao Yan did not take these problems too seriously. Cultivation in Dou Qi Continent has reached an era of Dharma and, only Danta and some ancient families have stable inheritance of ancient soul cultivation methods and soul attack methods. No more than 10 people in the entire Dou Qi Continent know how Dou Emperor breaks through, things created by some seniors in ancient times, as they practiced. Not only did the younger generations fail to develop them to a higher level, but the practice was almost lost. Possessing a heaven-defying level of understanding, Xiao Yan has a very thorough understanding of his cultivation environment. From the beginning of his birth, he has been able to accomplish things that are difficult for ordinary people to do. After years of practice, it will be even better in the future. Dou Emperor was not born with the power of blood. 30 years in Hedong, 30 years in Heshi. Don't bully young people into poverty. When night falls, everything is silent except for the gentle breeze blowing through the treetops. You have an epiphany, you have understood the secret method seal of fire. The seal of flame uses a secret method to store fighting energy between the eyebrows, and can release it at critical moments. How much fighting energy is stored is affected by physical fitness and the strength of soul power. The initial idea is completed. Xiao Yan stopped practicing the technique and slowly opened his eyes, slightly tired. After all, the total time for enlightenment was less than a day. Creating this secret method from scratch can be regarded as reaching a heaven-defying level. Xiao Yan took a deep breath, formed a seal with his hands, and closed his eyes again. The burning Dew technique was running again, but this time the Dou Qi absorbed and refined was not transported into the Dou Qi cyclone. Instead, it went against the flow, uncharacteristically. Under the gathering of many fighting spirits, a yellow light flashed across Xiao Yan's eyebrows. The moment the yellow light spot appeared, the practice of the flame seal entered the right path. A terrifying devouring power suddenly erupted from the center of his eyebrows, and the energy of the surrounding world surged crazily, condensing into countless energy threads and slowly blending into the yellow light spot. The energy of heaven and earth enters Xiao Yan's body from here, runs according to the route of the burning Dew technique, is refined into pure fighting energy, and is finally input here. Under such a steady flow of fighting spirit, what was originally a sporadic spot of light gradually turned into a flame mark that looked extremely mysterious. This flame mark seems to contain endless mysteries. It looks like a burning flame, but it also seems to contain endless wisdom. Each of its lines is like an ancient magic circle, shining with profound brilliance, revealing a kind of mystery and majesty that is beyond the world. The energy of heaven and earth continued to flow into the cave, and Yao Lao soon discovered something unusual, emerging from the bone flame ring. Looking at Xiao Yan, who began to absorb the energy of heaven and earth with his eyebrows, even the experienced Yao Lao couldn't help scratching his head for a while. A genius will always have things he doesn't understand. This almost started when Xiao Yan was in the womb. As he grew up, Xiao Yan became increasingly difficult for him to understand. The rising sun dispels all the darkness before dawn, and the soft sunshine is warm and comfortable. After absorbing the terrifying energy of heaven and earth, the original yellow flame mark turned as red as blood, extremely dazzling. Looking at the flame mark that seemed to be burning, Yao Lao finally thought of an almost impossible possibility: the clan pattern. This is the only thing Yao Lao can think of. Yao Lao was also from the ancient family. Although he was born in a lowly position, he knew about the existence of the ancient family from the beginning. Later, he became an 8th-level alchemist and knew much more about some of his secrets than ordinary people. But Yao Lao also knew in his heart that the clan pattern was not born so easily. Firstly, it requires extremely strong ancient family bloodline, and secondly, it requires a more cumbersome process. Xiao Yan. The surname is Xiao. Yao Lao's eyes suddenly widened, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Some things that I couldn't figure out in the past are now somewhat clearer. There used to be a Xiao clan among the ancient clans, but later they became lonely and seemed to disappear overnight. It seems that we can bring that group of forces closer. Looking at his disciple again, Yao Lao couldn't help but sigh. With this kind of background, even if you are in a remote place now, you will probably have a lot of troubles in the future. If you can increase your strength, just increase it. After practicing for a whole night, Xiao Yan opened the seal of flame and stored twice his own fighting energy in it. Although it is not too much, the seal of flame still has a lot of storage space. When you have time to fill it up later, it is roughly estimated that it will be no less than a strong 1-star fighting master who practices the yellow level technique. Teacher, you woke up very early. Xiao Yan chuckled when he saw Yao Lao floating in the air. After practicing this seal of flame, Xiao Yan felt as if he had opened a door to a new world. Now, he has only discovered the most basic usage. Even if he uses it later to improve his strength, there is still a lot of room for development. Yao Lao didn't sleep all night and was not in the mood to talk to Xiao Yan at all. With a flick of his finger, the forest white light stopped in front of Xiao Yan and condensed into a mirror as white as jade. I saw that the originally delicate face had a flame mark, as if it were a real flame. Chapter 23 Counterattack against the Wolf Head Mercenary Group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's pretty good looking. Xiao Yan touched the flame mark between his eyebrows and smiled at himself in the mirror. Is this a good-looking question? Yao Lao couldn't hold it back after all. Do you know how much energy from heaven and earth you absorbed last night? That majestic energy from heaven and earth is enough to even advance a fighting master. I'm really afraid that you will suddenly explode and die while you are practicing. You won't know how you died when the time comes. It would be so frustrating. Xiao Yan put away the smile on his face and said seriously, whether it is resurrecting the teacher in the future or developing the Xiao family, it is what Xiao Yan should do. Xiao Yan will not fall down so easily. There is no need for the teacher worrying too much. This boy seems to know nothing about that little girl. He has a goal to work hard and can stimulate her cultivation potential. It is not easy to reach such a height. A glimmer of light flashed in Yao Lao's eyes, and he raised his hand to put away the mirror condensed with bone spirit cold fire. Who would worry about you, a bad boy? I feel sorry for myself. Even if I had a physical body, I would probably be frightened and shorten my life by 100 years if I had a startled disciple like you. Yao Lao sighed. Xiao Yan smiled slightly, picked up the water bag on the side, drank a few sips, and then told Yao Lao about the flame mark. After practicing the low-level burning technique of Huang level, I was thinking about how to solve the problem of too little fighting energy. But the root cause of this problem is the level of the skill, which cannot be solved overnight, so, I thought of a way to create a second cyclone of fighting, so that the body could have a second cyclone of fighting. Then, it succeeded, and I named it Seal of Flame. If a lie is believed, it is always 7% truth. Now, this Seal of Flame is indeed a simple second cyclone, but it can also be upgraded in the future. Second Dou Cyclone. After Xiao Yan's explanation and looking at the flame mark between Xiao Yan's eyebrows again, Yao Lao thought of his worst plan. As Xiao Yan's strength increases, it is inevitable that he will come into contact with the Soul Palace in the future. He can hide it for a while, but not forever. If one day he is captured by the strong men of the Soul Palace, the Bone Spirit Cold Fire and Bone Flame Ring will be left to Xiao Yan to help him grow up and compete against the Soul Palace. The center of Xiao Yan's eyebrows is where the origin of Bone Spirit Cold Fire is stored. This matter is a trivial matter for him who has controlled Bone Spirit Lingua for many years. However, who could have imagined that Xiao Yan would be able to create a whirlpool of fighting in this special location in just one day? But this is probably something Xiao Yan can't do anything about. The evolution of Burning Dew requires strange fire. Many people have been searching for it all their lives, but in the end they have never even seen the shadow of strange fire. Cultivation geniuses basically practice Xian-level advanced skills at the beginning, and do not need to worry about the consumption of fighting energy, while ordinary mediocre people may not understand their own skills, let alone open up the cyclone of the second fight. Something happened, however. Even if a genius starts to think about this fighting cyclone, it may take several years for him to understand it. Anyway, with Yao Lao's ability, he doesn't have the slightest clue about opening up the second cyclone of fighting, and it will take at least 3 years to think about it. Xiao Yan was able to open up the second cyclone of fighting in just one day, which is really an incredible understanding. Yao Lao seemed to have a storm in his heart, and he could not calm down for a long time. After a long time, Yao Lao said, "Go look for medicinal materials. If you are lucky enough to get 2 second-level fire attribute magic cores, and then collect the medicinal materials, the things that will promote your cultivation will be refined for you in the next 2 days. Teacher, don't go to such trouble, someone has already prepared it for us." Xiao Yan rubbed his hands and said with a smile. Even Yao Lao was stunned for a moment before he understood what Xiao Yan meant. "You mean those mercenaries from the Wolf Head Mercenary Group?" Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan in shock and smiled bitterly. "I'm starting to feel unlucky for the mercenaries, they actually got into trouble with an evil star like you." Xiao Yan shrugged and said disapprovingly, "If it hadn't been for the fire bomb yesterday, if I didn't have you as my last trump card, those mercenaries would have faced only a 2-star fighter, and they wouldn't have let me go. I have the strength. Only then can we have the opportunity to show kindness." Yao Lao nodded in appreciation, closed his eyes, and carefully sensed the location of the mercenaries. After a breath or two, Yao Lao opened his eyes and said, "Their camp is not far from here. There are still more than 10 people in total, and each of them is a fighter, and the overall strength is not bad. Yesterday, if you suddenly took action to fight, you would have gained a lot of advantage if they were careless. Now that they know how powerful you are, those mercenaries with their blades licking blood fought desperately. Even if you now have a backup, it may not be a sure win. There are so many things in this world that we can be sure of. Opportunities are fleeting. Once these mercenaries leave, it will be difficult to obtain a large amount of resources at once. Moreover, knowing that the opponent is strong, sometimes it may not be possible. It's a good thing." Xiao Yan walked out of the cave and ran towards the location where the wolf-head mercenary group was camping. The soul returned to the bone flame ring, and Yao Lao finally said, "I look forward to the victory of this little guy like you, and don't ask me, this old bone, to take action when the time comes. I have said it before, unless you encounter a life-or-death situation, otherwise I won't help you. If I were a little late, your life would be very short." Ignoring Yao Lao's threats, Xiao Yan's eyes were firm and his speed was a little faster. After having the seal of flame, there was no need to worry about the use of fighting energy for the time being, and Xiao Yan couldn't help but think about evolving the technique. After all, Huang's low-level burning Ju was not only the source of his lack of fighting spirit, but also the source of his current slow speed in fighting spirit cultivation. Only by addressing the source can the problem be completely solved. The normal evolution of Burn Ju requires the use of strange fire to significantly improve it, but his current strength is too low, and he does not have the auxiliary object to integrate the alien fire in his hand. Even if the location of the strange fire is known, there is no chance of successful fusion. It is completely futile. However, it cannot be greatly improved, but a small improvement is still possible. Beast fire, the strange flame born in the body of Warcraft. Although there is a huge gap between it and the strange fire, it is safer to fuse and is the best choice now. Moreover, fusing a kind of animal fire is just the beginning. The old demon in the Demon Flame Valley relied on his own understanding to create a volume of true flame-making technique, even though the name overlaps with some of the techniques. It is capable of cultivating fake alien fire, that is comparable to the power of alien fire. Xiao Yan believed that it was not too exaggerated to create a secret method of true strange fire as long as he understood it with his heart. The old devil spent his whole life, but he was still far away from the threshold of touching Dozuan. One can imagine his understanding. His heaven-defying understanding is enough to far surpass Dou Di. If he can't even surpass the things created by the old devil, then he might as well call himself an idiot's understanding. Chapter 24 6-Star Fighter Hemon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 24 6-Star Fighter Hemon. I in the early morning forest, the sunlight shines through the dense leaves on the ground, forming golden spots. The breeze rustled the leaves, making a soft rustling sound, as if whispering in the ears. Morning dew makes the air fresh and moist, and the scent of grass and flowers mix together to create a pleasant scent. The entire forest appears vibrant in the early morning sunshine, full of new hope and vitality. But for the people of the wolf-head mercenary group, all this has no sense of beauty at all. That horrific explosion, even after a night, still seems to be vivid in my mind. Arriving at the camp where the wolf-head mercenary group was stationed, Xiao Yan jumped down from the tree trunk and strode over. "No, you just left like that?" Yao Lao said in surprise when he noticed Xiao Yan's behavior. Xiao Yan took out the Xuanzhong ruler from behind. "Although there are woods where the wolf-head mercenary group is camping, it is too far away. Unless I put on my wings, it will be difficult to approach quietly. This time I am fighting for hard power." Hard power? Believe it or not. Yao Lao stopped talking. Seeing Xiao Yan appearing so openly and alone outside the camp, the mercenaries of the wolf-head mercenary group took a breath of cold air. They were shocked and silently clenched the weapons in their hands. It's the young man in black robe. The boy in black robe appears. Third captain, the young man in black robe has appeared to avenge his brothers, that the slogans were shouted loudly. Although the number of people in this mercenary team was more than 10 times that of Xiao Yan, no one dared to take the lead. They didn't dare to get too close, for fear of being hit by an unknown explosive and dying inexplicably. Xiao Yan didn't care about this. He stepped on the ground with his feet and his body was like a cannonball, and he immediately rushed towards the smallest group of mercenaries. The mercenary man was tall and mighty, and his muscles were as hard as rock. He had no idea that he was so strong that he would be the first to be picked. Just when he was stunned and lost his mind, before he could react, a huge black ruler hit him hard on the head with a sound of breaking through the air. Just hearing a muffled sound, his head was instantly blown open, and a column of blood spurted out. The hot blood suddenly woke up all the mercenaries. Fear was useless, and they could only survive by fighting. Yellow-level low-level fighting skills, whirlwind knife. A mercenary next to the big man had a simple sword in his hand filled with cyan fighting spirit, and struck Xiao Yan sharply. The Pu Dao slashed out, bringing up a strong wind, and the sand and stones on the ground were rolled up, forming a semicircular arc. Having regained his fighting spirit, the middle-aged mercenary used his fighting skills to the strongest extent in his life. Xian Zhong turned around, and Xiao Yan instantly used the purest force to split Huashan Mountain. Facing the fierce attack, the shotgun knives collided, and a crisp metallic sound was heard instantly. The mercenary's face changed drastically, and he felt an extremely powerful force pass along the blade to his hand. And with a bang, the tiger's mouth exploded. At the same time, the sword in the mercenary's hand made a clicking sound and broke neatly. The crack was as smooth as a mirror. Xian Zhongqi's speed did not slow down at all, and it hit the mercenary's shoulder hard. The terrifying huge force completely penetrated the mercenary's body. The moment the mercenary's shoulder bones were shattered, his internal organs were completely shocked and bleeding. A mouthful of blood spat out, and another mercenary fell. Only the last mercenary was left in this small group of people. Looking at the huge black ruler that could even be cut with a simple knife, he was secretly afraid, knowing that this was an extraordinary weapon. Do you want it? Here you go. Xiao Yan smiled lightly, and gave Xian Zhong rule to the mercenary in front of Heng Qi. The mercenary was already stunned by Xiao Yan's shock. When he saw the baby coming to his door, he subconsciously reached out to pick it up, but the moment Xian Zhongqi came into his hand, he immediately felt the terrifying weight of the weapon, and his body fell to the ground. Baji collapse. Without the weight of Xian Zhongqi, Xiao Yan suddenly felt as light as a swallow, and his speed was a little faster. He instantly turned into a phantom and appeared behind the mercenary, hitting his back hard with his elbow. Even without engine, Xiao Yan's full blow would be fatal to a defenseless mercenary. All this seems complicated, but it all happens in the blink of an eye. The remaining mercenaries looked at Xiao Yan, who had killed 3 of their brothers in just 1 or 2 breaths, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Is this still a human being? At this time, Hemon slowly walked out of the central tent, standing proudly with his head held high, his momentum like a rainbow, and full of arrogance. 6-star fighter. Xiao Yan's dark pupils shrank suddenly. When he saw him yesterday, he only had 5 stars. Yao Lao's voice sounded in Xiao Yan's heart at this time. Only when a person is on the edge of life and death can his potential be fully unleashed. Like a sharpened sword, it becomes even sharper. This is why I will only take action at the last moment. Yesterday, if that guy hadn't pulled 2 mercenaries as human shields and had rock attribute fighting spirit, he would have been almost killed or crippled by the explosion. After experiencing life and death, his potential seems to have been stimulated. A mercenary trembled and said, "3rd Regiment Commander, let's retreat. This young man is simply inhuman. He killed 3 of our brothers in an instant, 3 brothers. Withdraw. People are coming to kill you. You withdraw." Hemon frowned and went up to Meishan angrily. He slapped the mercenary on the cheek with a palm like a cattail leaf fan. With a soft snap, 3 of the mercenary's teeth were knocked out, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. "If you dare to talk about withdrawing again, without that kid taking action, I'll be the first to kill him." Hemon snorted coldly, and glanced at the mercenaries who showed signs of retreating with cold eyes. Under Hemon's glance, the mercenaries seemed to have found their backbone and became fiercely fighting again. Looking at the two completely different groups of mercenaries, Xiao Yan thought to himself, it will be difficult to handle 6-star fighters plus a bunch of mercenaries. Seeing the situation of the mercenaries who had regained their fighting spirit, Hemon looked at Xiao Yan with burning eyes. Boy, you do have some skills, but the stronger you are, the more precious the treasure you get. I am not afraid to tell you that I have broken through and become a 6-star fighter. With these mercenary brothers, I can kill you. 6-star fighter, the third captain actually broke through and became a 6-star fighter. The mercenaries were all refreshed when they heard the news. According to the training speed of the 3rd Regiment leader, it should take about a year for him to break through. Now that his strength has greatly increased, with the powerful defense of his rock attribute fighting spirit, he can definitely lead them to easily kill the black-robed boy in front of them. Mysterious class exercises and fighting skills. For a time, Xiao Yan was no longer so scary in their eyes, but instead was as alluring as a glittering golden mountain. Hemon smiled secretly in his heart. He didn't tell people about his strength just to scare people. Xiao Yan suddenly thrust the Xianzhong ruler into the ground, and laughed, there are indeed many of you, but... With that said, Xiao Yan took out 2 red stone balls from his arms. Die. Fire bullets. Chapter 25 Seal of Flame, Open. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The black eyes narrowed slightly. Xiao Yan grabbed one in each hand, rounded his arms, and threw them at the mercenaries on the left and right sides respectively, but the speed was not so fast that all the mercenaries could see it. What? Hemon was shocked. If it weren't for the support of his brothers and the fact that he was practicing rock fighting energy with strong defense, he would have been safe yesterday. If one condition is missing, it will be severely damaged. I know the power of this thing best. Fighting energy emerged on the surface of the body, and Hemon retreated repeatedly. Even if the main target of this attack was not him, he did not dare to be careless. The tragic scene of the brothers being bombed yesterday is still vivid in my mind. The mercenaries were already frightened. When they saw the flying red light, they immediately scattered like birds and beasts. They only hated their parents for having 2 children. Throwing the stone ball in his hand, Xiao Yan immediately pulled up the Xuanzhong ruler in front of him, and picked up the simple knife that the strong mercenary had not used before. He suddenly stepped on the ground with the sole of his foot, like a tiger entering the forest, and pounced towards. He killed the scattered mercenaries. The mercenaries were in shock at this time. Who would have thought that this man was so fierce that he was about to explode and he would bully them? Xiao Yan was faster with one foot and faster with a knife. In the flash of lightning, it was like cutting a watermelon with a knife, and he killed 5 more mercenaries. The number of brothers dropped sharply, and Hemon's heart suddenly trembled, and a big question emerged: why hasn't it exploded yet? Glancing at the red object nailed to a wooden pillar in the camp, Hemon's eyes suddenly shrank. After taking a closer look, Hemon realized that this thing was just a stone painted with blood, not the terrifying explosive of yesterday at all. How dare you play with the wolf-head mercenary group like this? I'll kill you. The great advantage was completely lost because of such a little trick. Hemon was furious and stamped his feet on the ground. Like a giant monster, he rushed toward Xiao Yan. Feeling a powerful force coming from behind, Xiao Yan suddenly swung the sword in his hand. Under the great force, the sword was like a sharp arrow, and with a pop, it penetrated the mercenary who was fleeing in front. Heartbroken, immediately afterwards, Xiao Yan turned around neatly and punched him, hitting hard the sandbag fist that was constantly enlarging in his black eyes. Oh, there was a muffled sound, and in a hurry, Xiao Yan couldn't lift enough, and he was shocked and took 5 steps back before slowly stopping. You really do have some skills. A look of solemnity appeared on his face. Hemon breathed out slowly and smacked his chest with his fist. The originally bronze skin gradually turned pale. I practiced the rock technique, which is said to have the strongest defense among attributes. Even in your heyday, you couldn't break my defense. Now that your fighting spirit is exhausted, please pay for your life for my brothers. With a sneer, Hemon tightened his fists, and even his arms turned pale. fighting against Xiao Yan in person, Hemon couldn't help but be a little surprised by his physical strength. You must know that the suffering of cultivating the physical body is far more than what can be compared to just cultivating fighting spirit. Looking at Xiao Yan's soft appearance, it is difficult for him to imagine that Xiao Yan is also a person who cultivates the physical body. In order to ensure a hit with one hit, Xiao Yan concentrated his energy to the extreme every time he made a move. He defeated several mercenaries in a row. His fighting spirit was exhausted and his spirit was a little tired. At this time, his condition was indeed not very good. After taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan smiled disdainfully. I just realized it now. No matter how strong you are just a stupid pig. Killing you is just a snap of your fingers. Knowing that the other party had more than a dozen mercenaries, Xiao Yan would not come here without thinking. He had formulated a strategy on the way. The mercenaries must not be allowed to join together and must find a way to separate them. Immediately, Xiao Yan thought of yesterday's effective fire bomb. Of course he couldn't make it real in a short time, but he couldn't get some fake ones to make up for it. After all, his purpose was just to disperse the mercenaries, not something that needed to defeat the enemy. It is extremely easy to get some blood-red dye in the Warcraft Mountains, but the round stone is not very easy to find, so it takes some effort. The two fire bombs were born. Yao Lao was surprised at Xiao Yan's cunning. What a sharp-tongued boy. He stepped heavily on the ground again with the soles of his feet, and the livid-faced Hemon was obviously faster this time than before. The fierce speed brought about bursts of wind pressure. With a calm expression, he felt the fierce wind pressure coming towards him, and his extraordinary soul perception made Hemon's attack as slow as a turtle crawling for Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan turned his body slightly to one side, and with fierce energy, his huge fist flew out diagonally close to his ear. With a slight stroke of his toes on the ground, Xiao Yan walked around behind Hemon like a ghost, and hit his spine hard with a fist. Filled with fighting spirit. Baji collapse. That the cold shout in his heart made Xiao Yan's fists suddenly tense, and his smooth sleeves rattled from the violent force. The fist retracted, and then thrust out. In the short distance, the fierce power carried by the fist made a sharp sound of breaking wind. Dang! The fist hit Hemon's body, but there was a crisp sound like hitting a rock. You want to break my rock defense now? With fierce energy, his right foot kicked out behind him heavily. Hemon sneered triumphantly and shouted to the group of mercenaries who had no masters. This kid's fighting spirit has been exhausted, why don't you hurry up? Under Hemon's sudden shot, the remaining 5 mercenaries suddenly calmed down. Seeing that the 3rd Regiment leader and Xiao Yan had been fighting for a while, they realized that they and others had been deceived. There were originally more than 10 mercenaries, but in the blink of an eye there were only 6 left. The 5 mercenaries realized that they were in a critical situation, and fighting energy surged out of each of them. In an instant, the 5 of them used their nearly perfect fighting skills. For a time, the camp was filled with colorful fighting spirit. 5 weapons, swords, spears, swords and axes, each carrying the power of wind and thunder, attacked Xiao Yan, who was forced back by Hemon. The fighting spirit was exhausted, and the ordinary Baji Bang had almost no effect. While Xiao Yan marveled at the strong defense of the rock fighting spirit, he also secretly sighed at the pity. If he could use his dark power, Hemon would definitely die. The fierce attack came from behind him. Xiao Yan moved his figure dexterously, placed the Xian Zhong ruler horizontally in front of him, held the head of the ruler with one hand, and lifted it towards the sky as if he were lifting a heavy weight. The 5 people's fighting skills hit the Xuanzhong ruler hard, as if 5 heavy hammers were hammering down. The Xuanzhong ruler was shaken so much that it trembled, as if it might fly out of Xiao Yan's hand at any time. Faced with the all-out attack by 5 experienced mercenaries, Xiao Yan used all his strength to resist, his expression slightly ferocious. Sure enough, the fighting spirit has been exhausted. Seeing Xiao Yan's appearance of being unable to hold on at any moment, Hemon shouted excitedly. Although the 5 mercenaries did not succeed in a single blow, they were greatly inspired to know that Xiao Yan's fighting spirit was exhausted. Without fighting spirit, Xiao Yan only has powerful weapons. There are still 6 of them, and Xiao Yan will be defeated sooner or later. Xiao Yan raised the corners of his mouth slightly and shouted, Seal of Flame, open. Chapter 26 Epiphany on the Battlefield. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As Xiao Yan shouted, the flame mark between his eyebrows suddenly surged in spirituality, a blazing red light spread out from between his eyebrows, and in the blink of an eye, Xiao Yan seemed to be covered with a faint red energy coat. The red light flashed and entered Xiao Yan's body. The red energy coat became looming, as if it would shatter at any time. Pure fighting energy flowed through his body, and Xiao Yan's tired body once again had a new strength. The soles of his feet hit the ground heavily, and a force of recoil rushed across his wrists. With this force, Xiao Yan used the Xian ruler to sweep out with a huge force. The 5 mercenaries did not expect that Xiao Yan would develop a stronger new force when his strength was old. Suddenly, this force suddenly retreated, as if being swept away by a strong wind and huge waves. Dou Qi, a strong Doucher. A middle-aged mercenary stabilized his figure and shouted in horror as if he had seen a wild monster. Hemon was stunned for a moment, but he had just been fooled, and now his mind became much more flexible. He slapped the middle-aged mercenary in the face and shouted angrily. Dou Qi is the first action of every powerful Dou master before a battle. If this kid was a Dou master, he would have used it long ago. Why wait until the end of the world? Moreover, did such a young Dou master train from his mother's womb? The middle-aged mercenary had no temper after being beaten. Something was indeed wrong. Hemon analyzed it with his own knowledge. This must be some secret method to stimulate vitality in exchange for strength. It won't last long. Get in formation. Drag him to death. Hemon became more and more excited. How many good things did this black-robed boy have in him? Yao Lao's voice sounded in Xiao Yan's heart at this time. Your second fighting cyclone is really powerful, and the fighting energy that was originally consumed is instantly restored. Now you are just a fighter. If you reach the realm of fighting master, great fighting master, etc. in the future, being able to use it all the time will give you a big advantage in battle. Personally displaying what he created, Xiao Yan was not eager to attack, but felt the difference between theory and practice. What the mercenary said made sense. After the flame seal released all his fighting energy, he did have an extra layer of fighting energy gauze on his body. Unfortunately, there was too little fighting energy and almost no power. If the fighting spirit increases in the future, it may be able to show effects beyond the fighting spirit gauze. Yao Lao gave a final serious reminder: the remaining 6 mercenaries are not useless. Don't capsize at the last moment. Looking at the 6 mercenaries who turned into a vertical line, Xiao Yan probably knew the intentions of these 6 people. It was indeed a safer way to deal with it now. Try it. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and rushed out holding the Xian ruler, the figure that was as fast as a ghost forced Hemon to rely on his sharp nerves to make moves in advance. Yellow level advanced fighting skills, rock crystal gloves. Slowly spreading his fists in front of him, Hemon's legs tensed up, and the hair on his head suddenly stood upright. A slight whitish fighting spirit flashed rapidly in his eyes. The pale muscles were constantly beating, and a ferocious force quickly condensed into his fists as big as sandbags. Under the exaggeration of the pale fighting spirit, the pair of fleshy fists seemed to be covered with a layer of crystal gloves. The moment Hemon completed his fighting skills, Xiao Yan was already 3 feet away from him. He stepped heavily on the ground, raised the Xian ruler high above his head, and struck at Hemon with all his strength. A strong wind came, and Hemon immediately waved his arms to resist. Hemon felt an irresistible force spread from his fists to his whole body. The ground beneath his feet sank, and circles of cracks spread rapidly. This force swept over like a violent wind, causing Hemon's body to feel an unprecedented impact. He gritted his teeth, tried his best to stabilize his body, clenched his fists, and used the power of the crystal gloves to the maximum. Just when the two were in a stalemate, the 2 mercenaries behind Hemon holding iron spears swung their spears and stabbed Xiao Yan's shoulder with extremely fast wind attributes. The Xuanzhong ruler in his hand quickly changed direction and made 2 dings. The heavy rule body was like a thick shield, once again resisting Xiao Yan's fatal attack. With the help of the 2 attacks, Xiao Yan retreated more than 10 meters away in an elegant manner. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was forced to retreat, Hemon smiled proudly, as if looking at the prey he was about to capture. More than 20 wolf-headed mercenaries died in your hands. You are proud of yourself. But no matter how powerful you are as a fighting master, don't even think about breaking through my formation. That what a solid fighting skill. Xiao Yan looked at Hemong's slightly dim hands and was surprised. Don't think that you are invincible just because you are the proud son of heaven. They have practiced 20 or 30 years longer than you. Yao Lao smiled and analyzed, with this person in the lead, unless you can be as fast as one shot go through 6 people and get to the back of those 6 people, otherwise it's going to be a hard fight. No need to go to such trouble. Xiao Yan slowly closed his eyes and quickly reviewed the battle experience of more than a day, and a flash of inspiration in his heart suddenly enlarged. You have deduced the power of the 8-pole soaring cannon through experience, and you have an epiphany. You have realized a brand new fighting skill, star transformation, wolf fang breaking the sky. Star changes, the 8 meridians flow into the cyclone, and the power of a single thought is as powerful as a mountain. Once launched, it will concentrate all its power on one point, make an explosive assault, and quickly attack the opponent in a sudden, forceful, and seamless manner. It will almost completely abandon defense and attack with all its strength, focusing on preemptive strikes, specific moves. Wolf Fang breaks the sky. Xiao Yan suddenly opened his eyes, his body sank slightly, fighting energy surged out like waves, and his whole body was as gorgeous as starlight. The Xianzhong ruler in his hand instantly became the center of the storm, and the fighting energy gathered like the bright stars in the dark night. Countless fighting energy gathered into the Xuanzhong ruler, and Xiao Yan's power was highly concentrated. With a whoosh, like an arrow from the string, he suddenly shot at Hemon. His figure was as fast as lightning, leaving an afterimage. The stars change and the wolf fangs break through the sky. In the flash of lightning, Hemon felt his eyes blurred, and subconsciously raised his fist to resist. However, at that moment, a tyrannical force was released from the Xianzhong ruler. It was a bright energy, as spectacular as the falling stars. It cut through the air and sent out a long trajectory, destroying all obstacles in front of it. Hemon never thought until his death that he was practicing rock fighting spirit with the strongest defense. Xiao Yan's attack actually changed drastically in these few breaths. Yao Lao didn't even react. The 6 mercenaries were all dead in an instant. When the mercenary's body completely fell to the ground, Yao Lao could see from Xiao Yan's fighting skills that the Baji sky cannon was as fast as thunder and charged with attack, but it was even more extreme than the Baji sky cannon. Xiao Yan has been practicing fighting spirit for the past 10 years, and he only recently came into contact with fighting skills, after only being exposed to it for such a short period of time. I was able to draw parallels and develop new tricks. His understanding of fighting skills training is really amazing. Xiao Yan took a deep breath. This was also a big consumer of fighting spirit, but thinking about the harvest of the mercenaries in the camp, he still said excitedly, the spoils of war have been collected. Chapter 27 Hot Spring Xiao Yu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. More than half an hour later, there was a small mountain of medicinal materials and magic core in front of Xiao Yan. Next to the medicinal materials, there was a pile of gold coins, which seemed to number in the thousands. No wonder they are talking about the gold belt for murder and arson. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Just by solving a mercenary team, I got nearly 20,000 gold coins, which is more than the income of Jiafeng City in 1 month. Yao Lao was still studying Xiao Yan's newly created fighting skills. After looking at it for a long time, he regretted and said, if it weren't for your lack of fighting spirit, this fighting skill could be even more powerful. Looking at the deep ravine that spread several meters on the ground, Yao Lao seemed to still have that move that seemed to be blooming with bright starlight in front of his eyes. With one blow, the originally indestructible rock crystal fist shattered instantly, and even Hemon, who was practicing rock fighting spirit, was split into 2 halves. After the burst of energy, the 5 mercenaries did not react at all. 6 fighters who were definitely not weak died almost unconscious. This was really amazing. This fighting skill requires a high degree of concentration of strength and fighting spirit. Xiao Yan's execution was extremely precise and impeccable, which is truly rare. Generally speaking, it is quite good for people to display fighting skills that are several % higher than their own strength. Just like Xiao Yan's move of star transformation and Wolf Fang breaking the sky, the level of improvement is almost rare in Yao Lao's life. This fighting skill is difficult to judge by level. It is somewhat like a secret method that highly condenses strength and fighting spirit. As Xiao Yan's strength improved, he was still able to perform fighting skills that were not inferior to those of the lower class when he used them again. Listening to Yao Lao's regretful words, Xiao Yan smiled and shook his head. This is only temporary, and the fighting spirit will improve sooner or later. That's true. Yao Lao looked away from the ravine and looked at Xiao Yan, still feeling amazed in his heart. Ordinary people get a fighting skill, but a little guy like Xiao Yan frequently comes up with new ideas. At first, he only improved the Bajibang, but now it has extended to the Xuanzhong ruler, which is a real analogy. After taking a cursory look at Xiao Yan's harvest, Yao Lao said, there is still one second-level fire attribute magic core missing. It's not bad anymore. Xiao Yan waved his hand and pointed at the pile of gold coins and said, with this money, it is not difficult to buy a second-level fire attribute magic core. You little guy, you know how to be lazy. Yao Lao smiled slightly. Originally, he planned to let Xiao Yan, a young master from a wealthy family, practice in the Warcraft Mountains for a few months to become proficient in fighting skills while also honing his temperament. However, Xiao Yan's understanding of fighting skills is too strong. If he continues to practice like this, Xiao Yan's fighting spirit will not be enough to support the fighting skills he can create. After taking a look at the vitality fruit and blood coagulation grass among the medicinal materials on the hill, Yao Lao's heart moved. His strong understanding of fighting skills did not mean that he could be so defiant in refining medicine. When it comes to refining medicine, having the qualification to be an alchemist is just the beginning. You also need countless medicinal materials and experience in the process of refining medicine. Yao Lao muttered, let's go to the auction house. You are now a fighter, and you can make medicine with your own fighting spirit. It's time to teach you the art of medicine refining. Become an alchemist. Now. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was a little stunned. He was not satisfied yet. You can't always rely on me, an old man, right? Xiao Yan chuckled and rubbed his hands. Teacher, the medicine cauldron used by the alchemist is very valuable. This disciple cannot afford it with his wealth. Seeing Xiao Yan's little fox look, Yao Lao said helplessly, don't worry, since you are my disciple, I will definitely prepare this for you. Then I will also let you experience some real alchemy skills. Waving his hands, he put the pile of things on the ground into the bone flame ring. Yao Lao raised his hand and put it on Xiao Yan's shoulder. There was a ripple in the space around the two bodies, and they suddenly disappeared into the camp here, and returned in the blink of an eye. The mountain behind the Xiao family, without Xiao Yan's constant supply of fighting spirit in recent years, it would have been extremely difficult for Yao Lao to restore his soul power to such an extent. Seeing this unfamiliar environment and not returning to his original place, Xiao Yan asked doubtfully, Teacher, you must have gone astray. Is this the back mountain of our Xiao family? You little guy, you're not even familiar with your own family. Yao Lao slowly returned to the bone flame ring. Take some time to clean up and go to your auction house in Wutan City. Xiao Yan shrugged and murmured, it's not like someone has been sucking my fighting spirit. He spends most of his time practicing. After Yao Lao returned to the ring, he fell silent and did not respond. Xiao Yan sighed and walked forward. The mountain behind was not that big, so it would not take long to find his way. As they walked, the air around them suddenly became moist, and Xiao Yan, who had been exploring the way with his soul perception, became energetic. Xiao, cousin Xiao Yu. Only then did Xiao Yan realize that he had unknowingly walked near a hot spring in the back hill of the Xiao family. Just asking for directions. Xiao Yan nodded heavily in agreement, ducking into the grass quietly, his dark eyes particularly focused. In a pool not far away, a beautiful girl in a swimsuit was taking a bath. Her ink-like hair was draped wetly over her shoulders, and her round shoulders were so smooth that they could eclipse all the beautiful jade in the world. The girl held up the water and gently wiped her round and slender jade legs with both hands. These sexy long legs were something that not even the enchanting Yafei had. As the young master of the Xiao family, Xiao Yan has naturally been to my auction house. The the largest auction house in Wutan City, many times. It is inevitable that he will compare it with the fairy Yafei who fascinated Wutan City. Xiao Yu is still young at this time, and I really don't know how attractive these legs will be if she grows up in a few years. After a while, Xiao Yu slowly walked out of the hot spring, wiped it off, and changed into a water blue bellyband. The aqua blue bellyband is close to Xiao Yu's skin, outlining her graceful figure. There is a white crane embroidered on the bellyband, which is lifelike and seems to leap up at any time. When Xiao Yu puts on this bellyband, her skin looks even more white and tender, which is intoxicating. While tying the silk belt, Xiao Yu's beautiful eyes suddenly saw a black object, and her pupils suddenly shrank. "Who's there?" Xiao Yu nervously covered her bellyband and shouted sharply. Xiao Yan was shocked. "I was discovered." "How is this possible?" Immediately, Xiao Yan suddenly remembered that he was carrying a Xianzhong ruler on his back. "I didn't expect that this thing betrayed me." Xiao Yan cursed secretly, and at the same time his heart moved. "Run quickly, there is a monster." Xiao Yan suddenly jumped out of the grass and ran towards Xiao Yu to greet him. After seeing that it was Xiao Yan, Xiao Yu secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Xiao Yan was so fast that he arrived in front of Xiao Yu in just 1 or 2 breaths. He grabbed Xiao Yu's delicate wrist and tried to escape with him. "Where are the monsters?" Xiao Yu twitched her hand forcefully and said with slight confusion, "Although the back mountain is right next to the Warcraft mountain range, the Xiao family has lived here for many years and has never heard of a world of Warcraft appearing in the back mountain." Xiao Yu's strength was far inferior to Xiao Yan's. Suddenly, with such exertion, he became unstable and his feet slipped. They both fell into the hot spring water splashed everywhere, and he let out an exclamation. Chapter 28 Xun'er's Gift. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why are you so heavy? Xiao Yu was so pressed that she couldn't breathe. She didn't have time to care about the unwarranted monster and pushed Xiao Yan hard, but with her little strength, how could she push Xiao Yan who had added a Xuanzhong ruler? Fortunately, the hot spring pool was not deep, otherwise the two of them would have sunk to the bottom in an instant. Xiao Yan hissed softly, "Don't move around, be careful that the monster hears it." Seeing the serious look, Xiao Yu was stunned for a moment, thinking, is there really a world of Warcraft? After a while, Xiao Yu didn't know if there was a monster. If he continued to be so honest, the monster would probably enter the hole. "Little pervert, you are full of bad thoughts at such a young age." Xiao Yu suddenly pushed with both hands, pushing Xiao Yan away so suddenly. With a slightly blushing face, she gave Xiao Yan a big eye roll and curled her lips. "Ahem. I'm innocent." Xiao Yan coughed violently, his face slightly red. Turning around and looking around, Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief and explained to Xiao Yu, "There were really monsters chasing me, so I rushed over here in a panic." Xiao Yu lightly jumped out of the hot spring, not caring about the water stains on her body, and directly put on a set of aqua blue clothes. A pair of slender jade legs like mutton-fat white jade had a few scarlet palm prints. With a scream, Xiao Yu's long jade legs slashed towards Xiao Yan. With his toes at the bottom of the pool, Xiao Yan suddenly jumped out, his shoulders resisted the kick, and he moved forward to approach Xiao Yu. In a flash of lightning, Xiao Yan neutralized Xiao Yu's attack, and the two of them breathed each other. In an instant, the blush on Xiao Yu's pretty face became more intense, and her dimples became even more beautiful. "Little pervert, let me go." Xiao Yu was shy. If it weren't for the support of Xiao Yan's shoulders, she would have fallen to the ground at this moment. Raising his hand to gently scratch the soles of his feet, which looked like mutton-fat white jade, Xiao Yan smiled slightly. "I can let you go, but you can't do anything again." Like a cat meowing, Xiao Yu nodded quickly. Taking a step back, Xiao Yan gently supported Xiao Yu's legs to fall to the ground, and Xiao Yan shook off the water stains on his head. "Little pervert, you really think I am stupid? In the past few years, someone has sneaked into my room every night to warm my bones and meridians. He is also a little pervert." Xiao Yu pursed her jade lips. "Wait a minute. I broke through the fighter and taught you a lesson first, and then taught him a lesson." Xiao Yan grinned, feeling guilty and confused. How did Xiao Yu know? "My approach to them is very gentle." Could it be, that time when I secretly ate rouge? Xiao Yan glanced at the shiny jade lips and coughed lightly. I don't know anything else, but there was really a ruthless black eagle chasing me just now. Xiao Yu snorted lightly, turned around and left with her bare feet, going down the mountain to practice. Looking at Xiao Yu's beautiful figure, Xiao Yan murmured, do you believe it or not, that according to Xiao Yu's violent temper, logically he should fight him to the death, but now he is angry but has not done anything. Even if his understanding is incredible, it seems he can't understand a woman's heart. Xiao Yan sighed, and used the hot spring to clean his body and clothes. Under the stimulation of fighting spirit, the clothes quickly dried. After walking in the direction Xiao Yu left for a moment, Xiao Yan soon saw the cliff he often visited. As soon as Xiao Yan arrived, a young girl in green jumped out from a side path and stood in front of her slimly. Brother Xiao Yan, have you practiced your skills? His eyes turned to Xiao Yan, and a trace of doubt quietly appeared on his delicate little face. He put his hands behind his back, leaned forward slightly, and separated their faces from each other. Standing 1 centimeter apart, he said with a half-smile, Xun'er soul power has always been quite strong. The strength of everyone in the Xiao family's fighting spirit stage can be seen at a glance, but the strength of the person closest to him cannot be seen. I originally thought that Brother Xiao Yan's strength would be more obvious when he broke through the fighters, and he should be able to tell a thing or two, but he didn't expect that he still couldn't. Xiao Yan has been cultivating soul power since he was a child. Xiao Yan's soul power is much stronger than Xun'er's. It is very easy to restrain his own strength. Recently, he had an epiphany on the breath condensation technique, and Xiao Yan's strength has naturally become more elusive. Xiao Yan was momentarily distracted by the warm fragrant wind blowing on his face. He suppressed the thoughts in his heart, patted the little head of the girl in front of him who was almost the same height as himself, and nodded slightly. Xun'er's eyes were slightly curved, like a pair of beautiful crescent moons. She stretched out her white and delicate little hands and carefully straightened out Xiao Yan's slightly wrinkled clothes as usual. Looking down at the delicate little face without any flaws, a strand of black hair fell on the smooth forehead, occasionally blown up by the breeze, revealing a pair of big, watery eyes, which were extremely moving. Looking at Xun'er blankly, Xiao Yan's breathing suddenly became a little faster, and there was a touch of heat in his eyes. Brother Xiao Yan, what are you looking at? After straightening Xiao Yan's clothes, Xun'er finally noticed his fiery eyes. Her face turned red, and she said softly, Ah. After waking up with a start, Xiao Yan's face also turned a little rosy, but fortunately his face was much thicker than Xun'er's. After coughing twice, he said calmly, It's nothing. I just feel that Xun'er is getting more and more beautiful. Listening to Xiao Yan's words, Xun'er snorted noncommittally, but her red mouth curled up in a happy arc. Although the family's top fire attribute skills are good, when I first started practicing Dou Qi, the higher the level of the skills, the greater the benefits will be in the future. The yellow level advanced skills are a bit low. Looking at Xiao Yan with a calm face, Xun'er frowned slightly, flicked her slender fingers, and an ancient scroll with the color of fire jade appeared in her hand. Although she knew that there was a mysterious strong man behind Brother Xiao Yan, the strong man only had a soul body left. Xun'er was not sure whether he could still produce suitable fire attribute skills, so he still came to see for himself. This is an advanced fire attributed Xian level skill, the flame technique. Xun'er stroked the scroll and said softly, Brother Xiao Yan, don't feel embarrassed to accept it. Xun'er also knows that you are not that kind of pedantic person. Advanced skills will be of great benefit to you in the future, so. Xiao Nizi is really a little rich woman. A high-level Xian level skill costs at least hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Xiao Yan smiled and took the skill in his hand without rejecting it. Even though he works behind closed doors, he can still suddenly realize good techniques, fighting skills, and secret techniques with his incredible understanding. But if you have some previous experience and realize it with a heaven-defying understanding, you will gain the fastest and greatest results. Listening to Xiao Yan's words, Xun'er's pretty face turned red. Brother Xiao Yan, please change the exercises here. Xun'er will protect you. Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Xun'er to be so direct. Although Burning Jew is looked down upon by countless people, it is one of the two ways to break through the Dou Emperor. How can this be changed? Haha, thank you Xun'er, I have already practiced the technique. Xiao Yan smiled softly, lowered his head and whispered in Xun'er's delicate ear, Brother Xiao Yan can get better techniques. Chapter 29, Learning from Xun'er and Having an Epiphany During the Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I took Xun'er's technique just to see what's unique about the Xian level advanced technique. Xiao Yan played with the scroll in his hand, the slender fingers touched the snow-white chin, and he was so curious about the advanced skills of the first level. Could it be that the level of skills practiced by Brother Xiao Yan was not as good as that of others? Xun'er said with a smile, can I show Xun'er what level of technique it is? Ahem. Kung Fu can't just be judged by its level, but also by who practices it and how it is practiced. Xiao Yan laughed dryly, seeing Xiao Yan's appearance, Xun'er's eyes slowly narrowed in a dangerous arc, but her soft voice was still gentle and touching, Brother Xiao Yan, let Xun'er take a look. Seeing Xun'er persevering, Xiao Yan had no choice but to stretch out his hand. The vortex of fighting slowly turned, and a wisp of fighting energy flowed out along the meridians, and a faint yellow light emerged from the palm of his hand. Looking at this fighting spirit that was like a candle in the wind and could be extinguished at any time, Xun'er's face was a little ugly, and her rosy mouth was pressed tightly, showing the anger in her heart at this moment. Brother Xiao Yan, is this what you said about finding a better technique? You clearly know that if you have advanced skills in the early stage, it will be of great benefit to your future practice. Xun'er has brought all the advanced skills. You can just return them to me after you complete the training. But now you are practicing it's the lowest level of skill, isn't it because Qingxin is angry with me? Xun'er opened her eyes wide, angry and anxious. There are even a few drops of crystal on the long eyelashes, which makes her look so charming and endearing. She and Brother Xiao Yan are destined to be together in the future, but if they practice this low-level Huan-level skill, how can they suppress the opposition of the family members in the future? Xun'er, who has a gentle temper, can speak with this attitude. You can imagine how puzzled and angry he is at Xiao Yan's actions. Looking at Xun'er who was biting her lip and stubbornly asking for an answer, Xiao Yan shook his head helplessly and said with a low and bitter smile, we have been together for almost 10 years, don't you still understand me? But this technique of yours, is clearly of the lower level of the Huang class. My perception is correct. The anger on Xun'er's face relaxed a little, but she still said stubbornly. You don't know my talent yet, but you will know it in the future. Xiao Yan said with a smile. Really? Looking at Xiao Yan's confident look, Xun'er fell silent for a moment before hesitatingly asked again. Immediately afterwards, without waiting for Xiao Yan to answer, Xun'er raised her eyebrows slightly and said with a chuckle, then please show some strength, Brother Xiao Yan. Xun'er has also broken through to the level of a fighter. From a sad face to a smile, it was like the spring breeze blowing through the ice and snow, making the girl's cheeks look like blooming flowers. At this moment, Xun'er exuded a charm from the inside out. It must be the effect of the 4th grade elixir chi gathering powder. Nizi, you are really a little rich woman. Xiao Yan smiled slightly. The knowledge of a member of the Xiao family will naturally take a long time to accumulate for Xun'er to reach the 9th level of Dou Qi, but Xiao Yan knew that, let alone taking Dou Qi powder to achieve a breakthrough, Xun'er could even eat Dou Qi powder as a meal. Xun'er pursed her lips and her eyes were extremely serious. Only during the real battle can Brother Xiao Yan realize the benefits of high-level skills. Xun'er has no doubts about Xiao Yan's qualifications, but coming from a remote Wutan city, there are many unknown things about cultivation. Now that he is less than 12 years old, it is inevitable that he may be deceived by the old monster. Let's learn from this little girl like you. Xiao Yan raised his hand and pulled out the Xian Zhong ruler, and suddenly thrust it into the ground. With a seemingly ordinary movement, the extremely heavy Xian Zhong ruler was directly inserted into the hard ground with a bang under the blessing of Xiao Yan's power. Xun'er's beautiful eyes widened in astonishment. She had been paying attention to the skills just now and didn't notice this ordinary pitch-black ruler at all. Xiao Yan smiled slightly and took a few steps back. Let's show some real skills. Bathe bit her red lips lightly, Xun'er didn't dare to be careless. The Dou Qi cyclone slowly began to rotate faster and faster, and a pair of beautiful eyes shone with golden light. The sun was rising high in the sky, and the blazing sunlight baked the earth like a furnace. Wisps of hot air seeped out from the ground and slowly rose into the sky, making people's vision slightly distorted. The sun shines through the cover of heavy leaves, casting tiny spots on the land covered with dead leaves, and the stars are like stars. As a breeze blew by, two figures suddenly intertwined and moved in the grove. The palms of their hands clashed, creating waves of gentle wind that blew the nearby dead leaves flying in all directions. Although the attack seemed fierce, Xiao Yan only used 3 points of his strength, but even this was beyond the upper limit of Xun'er's endurance. There was a slightly livid bruise on the small hand. So strong. Xun'er took a breath of cold air. She was almost inseparable from Xiao Yan, knowing that he had never learned fighting skills and devoted himself to cultivating fighting spirit. I originally thought that he was just a weak fighter who broke through, but I didn't expect that he would show such great strength in the first sparring session. The soles of his feet hit the ground violently, and Xiao Yan rushed out. The soil suddenly flew up. When he was about 1 meter away from Xun'er, he suddenly stopped. There was a perfect transition between extreme movement and extreme stillness, without making anyone feel at all. There is a half-pointed sense of abruptness. Seeing Xiao Yan controlling his speed so skillfully, Xun'er's eyes couldn't help but show a hint of admiration. Baji collapse. Xiao Yan shouted deeply and used a horse-step punching move. It was simple and direct, without any fancy, and went straight towards Xun'er's delicate body. Looking at Xiao Yan's fierce offensive, the golden flames in Xun'er's eyes danced. The small white hand drew a small semicircle in front of the body. In the palm of the palm, the light golden light suddenly burst out. The small hand was curled into a strange semicircle, and then it hit Xiao Yan's fist without any hesitation. Oh, the fists and palms were handed over, and there was a muffled sound and an explosion out of thin air. At this moment, the dead leaves on the ground were swept away and flew all over the sky. A kick and a punch, and after a moment of stalemate in mid-air, both of them retreated sharply. Xiao Yan felt as if he had been hit by a rubber ball. He not only diffused his attack, but also rebounded to a certain extent. He was worthy of being from an ancient family. Xian level advanced fighting skill, Yan return attack, has been cultivated to the highest level, and can feed back the opponent's attack. I am still at the preliminary level, and can only feed back about 1 level of power. Xun'er said with a smile. Leverage your strength to fight. Xiao Yan's heart suddenly became clear, as if the clouds had cleared away. You deduce the attack method of turning stars into a little more power, and you have an epiphany. You have realized a brand new fighting skill, Samsara Tribulation, breaking the universe. Chapter 30, Reincarnation Tribulation, breaking the universe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Reincarnation Tribulation, 4 ounces to divert the yin and yang forces, borrow some points from each other and pay back some points. His movements are soft and slow, but he can use stillness to stop, use softness to overcome hardness, avoid the real situation and make use of the weak, and use force to exert force. It is useless to fight alone and reincarnate. You can use the opponent's strength to counterattack the opponent. Very useful for group battles. Samsara Tribulation emphasizes the use of force to fight, and the emphasis is on listening to the force and guiding. First, identify the strength and weakness of the opponent's attack and the direction of the attack, and then guide to avoid the strong attack. Follow the trend to guide the opponent's attack direction, and stay close to the opponent. After the action direction, use the momentum to increase the counterattack, so that while the opponent's offensive is empty, they are unable to withdraw their strength and are restrained by their own strength. The Samsara Calamity can be forcibly borrowed. Since it is purely a matter of leveraging force, Samsara Tribulation relies even more on the opponent's strength. Move, break the universe. With this instant understanding, Xiao Yan instantly mastered a fighting skill that was stronger than Xian's counterattack. This is the benefit of seeing powerful fighting skills and techniques, which can stimulate Xiao Yan's understanding to the greatest extent. With his keen soul perception, the Xun'er immediately noticed Xiao Yan's secret changes. Brother Xiao Yan's fighting skills just now were already very good. Is there any stronger fighting skills? You must know that powerful fighting skills require the support of deep fighting spirit before they can be unleashed. Even if Brother Xiao Yan is given a role of heaven-level fighting skills, Brother Xiao Yan can only watch. But if you practice high-level skills, the time will be greatly reduced. Yao Lao agreed very much and said, not only the fighting skills, even if I gave you the heaven-level skills, you still wouldn't be able to practice them. The terrifying training speed of the heaven-level skills would destroy your meridians in an instant. The practice of fighting chi skills is progressive, and only by improving one's strength can one adapt to stronger skills. It's just that not many people are willing to start from the lower level of Huang level. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. He naturally knew this, but level was never a problem, especially when he had an incredible understanding. Brother Xiao Yan, Xun'er needs to be more serious. Seeing Xiao Yan's casual look, Xun'er reminded him with a sweet drink, and suddenly the golden light in her body surged. Xiao Yan's dark eyes suddenly shrank. This little girl is really scary. Guardian Guozhang. As the golden light surged, Xun'er's feet were slightly half an inch off the ground, and her waist-length hair moved automatically behind her. Golden light surged from the palm of her hand, and she immediately blasted out with a palm. I saw an afterimage of a palm bringing up a golden tail of energy, shooting out like lightning. Reincarnation Tribulation. Xiao Yan also started to draw a circle with both hands, but what he drew was a complete circle. Xun'er's pretty face turned pale and she looked at Xiao Yan in disbelief. Even with a fighting skill similar to Yan's return attack, it was impossible to counterattack her move of Guardian Gua Palm. She used that kind of power in this move. Now Xiao Yan is not as relaxed as Xun'er seems to be. With this fiery energy, fortunately, his physical fitness is quite strong. Ordinary people would have set themselves on fire. Even so, Xiao Yan also felt that his body was like lava, extremely hot. Break the world. With a deep shout, Xiao Yan pushed his hands to attack, and a bright golden beam shot out. This beam of light carried terrifying heat, and wherever it passed, there was a scorched earth. A wave of scorching fire hit him, and Xun'er, who had exhausted his fighting spirit, closed his eyes in horror. Yao Lao thought to himself, what can I do to feed this kid if he has nothing to do? With a bang, a huge boulder to Xun'er's right was bombarded into countless fragments. The earth trembled, and the air was filled with smoke and dust. Where the boulder originally stood, the surrounding area was in a mess and turned into ruins. You are defeated. Xiao Yan stretched out his hand and flicked Xun'er's smooth forehead. Xun'er touched her head in pain and looked at the broken boulder in surprise. These stones emitting scorching heat are obviously the power of his fighting skills. How is this possible? Xun'er was very surprised. Brother Xiao Yan can't rebound my fighting skills even if he has reached the highest level of Yan Hui San. Xun'er, I understand everything you have done. Now I am working hard to practice Huang level low-level skills for the same purpose as you. This, you will naturally understand in the future. Xiao Yan suddenly grabbed Xun'er's uncontrollable waist and pulled her into his arms. Xun'er was frightened by Xiao Yan's sudden move and was a little stupid. After a moment, a bright red color appeared on the tips of her pink ears. She struggled slightly, then stopped shyly, with a slightly seductive look on her little face. Blushing, the breeze blew over the cliff, and the green willows were fluttering. The young man hugged the young girl tightly. Their bodies fit perfectly, as if they were inseparable from each other. Xun'er, in 3 years, my strength will be so strong that no one can even say no. Burying his head deep in the soft black hair, the young man's acceptance finally made the girl, who was a little at a loss, nod obediently. After a moment, a scream sounded from the cliff. Brother Xiao Yan, you are so evil. Xun'er blushed and raised her hands behind her neck to tie the strap of her green bellyband, but because of the girl's movements, her figure looked even more graceful. Xiao Yan raised his hand and touched his nose. The refreshing body fragrance cheered him up. He was growing up so fast. Seeing Xiao Yan's actions, Xun'er stamped her feet shyly, turned around and ran down the mountain as if running away. After stretching, Xiao Yan went home and changed into a black robe under the service of the maid. He took some things with him and then walked out of Zhao's house and went straight to the miter auction house. Yao Lao has always been very satisfied with Xiao Yan's talent, but in this life, he is really a full-fledged young master of the family. The middle auction house is the largest auction house in Wutan City, and it also belongs to the richest family in the Gama Empire, the middle family, in the Jia Ma Empire. In terms of wealth, the Tamir family is probably second to none. Looking at the huge venue at the end of the street, Xiao Yan turned into a remote alley, and then quickly put on the black cloak and robe he brought at home. The huge robe was covered up, not only hiding Xiao Yan's appearance, but even the young man's somewhat thin body was bloated. Now Xiao Yan's appearance is probably difficult for Xun'er to take a look at even if he is standing in front of him. Make out, although I didn't expect how long this disguise would last, I think it would be a while. After covering his body, Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief. This can't be blamed on him being too cautious. Alchemists almost never appear in cities like Wutan City. The magical ability of alchemists to make medicine is too attractive to some family forces, and on a deeper level, knowing the existence of the Soul Palace, Xiao Yan just wants to maintain the status quo and practice quietly, so that the Soul Palace will be caught off guard.